Hi, before we get started with the episode, we just wanted to point you in the direction of the social accounts we've set up for the show to help you guys engage with us and communicate and get involved with our show.
You can email us at can'tdisappointpodcast@gmail.com.
Emailing us will really be the best way to talk to us directly and conversate with us on air during the show.
Also, be sure to like You Can't Disappoint a Podcast on Facebook.
And you can also follow us on Instagram at Can't Disappoint Podcast and Twitter at You Can't Disapod. That's disapod like disappoint. So there's one S and two P's. Well, thanks for tuning in, and let's kick off the episode.
Here we go. I choose shorts.
I choose shorts! Shorts! Son of a bitch. You magnificent son of a bitch!
Microphone check, 1, 2, what is this?
Hello, everyone! Yay! Another week of us talking about community for 2 hours. Whoa! Hey,
Crap,
Steven.
I hit accept call? I thought I hit decline again. Damn it.
Welcome, everyone, to the show. It's big number 17.
Yeah,
I don't know
lucky
why.
number.
It's the number after the previous one every time we do it, but every week I'm like, wow, 17?
Yeah,
How is
I
it
was
that
like
far
going
already?
into my notes, and I was like, how are we already this far into the show?
Welcome to You Can't Disappoint a Podcast. I am your host, Zach, and I'm like Abed, but employable.
Hi, I'm your other host, Gravy Jones.
Solid. And thank you guys for tuning in for another week. Glad you're here with us. Shout out to Communities for helping us out on Twitter, for helping out the community fandom at large. Get on board with them, and thanks for being on board with us.
Yeah, shout out to Communities, as always. Big fans.
You know,
And
I want to
friends.
just right off the top of this episode apologize. Last episode, it slipped between my fingers, and I left in an uncensored utterance of the word
How dare you?
So I just wanted to start off this episode by saying that won't happen again. There will be no there will be no holy there will be no yous, me's, there will be no horse there will be no donkey don't me over, around, none of it. No will be uttered in this podcast, uncensored for the rest of time. Thank you.
You know, your grandfather called me crying on Monday.
That's really strange.
He said, Steven, what have you done to my boy? And I
This
said,
is funny
you
because
know,
he hasn't called me in months.
well, he's been scared to talk to you.
Yeah, I
The
feel
road
like
that you're going down.
Yeah, more and more, I guess we've kind of silently agreed that we're just going to talk the way we talk on the show, which I think is great. But yeah, that one slipped between my fingers, and it won't happen again, friends. All
God damn it.
apologies. Nothing but classy family entertainment on You
Pinkies
Can't
up,
Disappoint a
folks.
Podcast. Have you watched anything this week? Did you do anything cool this week that you want to discuss?
Let's see. I actually, this week, spent a lot of time reading. Now,
Now, were you reading, like...
I was reading manga,
Yeah.
Zachary.
That's where I figured this was going.
Yeah, spent some time in My Hero Academia.
Of Mice and
And-
Men.
Yeah, you know.
Catcher in the Rye.
Kaguya-sama, Love is War.
Okay.
Very cute one, very funny stuff. I guess watching-wise, just been sticking on the same gravy train I've been on, nothing too exciting. What about you,
Gravy
Zach?
Jones Gravy Train.
The Gravy Jones Gravy Train.
Last week I mentioned kind of having an inkling to watch Survivor, never having watched it before. So I
Yeah.
started watching the first season of Survivor, season 1 out of like 40,
Nice.
and I'm really into it. It's been good. It holds up really well, and the way it's shot is like almost cinematic for a reality show. I enjoy it quite a bit.
I believe that. What I remember of watching it when I was younger, it was very much like an action adventure movie.
Yeah, I don't know if I'm gonna pick it up enough to be binging all the seasons, but the seasons are pretty short, and I'm certainly enjoying the first one. Also, last night I started a new Hulu original that I've been hearing for a long time is really good called Rami, and I really, really like it.
Is that the Rahm Emanuel picture?
It's Rami Youssef is the guy's name. He's a comedian, and it's about being like a religious Muslim American in New Jersey. It's really interesting.
That's
Pretty
awesome.
cool.
It looks good.
So those are my
you
go watches for the week. What have I? What?
Now I know you're watching Survivor. We have a bit of a hometown connection to a Survivor winner.
Is that Rupert?
Rupert, yeah.
See, I don't know anything much about Survivor, and I'm trying to watch these seasons without knowing who won. I already know who wins. That's
one
okay.
of the 8 seasons that he's on, he wins. Spoiler
I already
alert.
know who wins the season I'm watching, which makes it a little bit harder to get invested in. But there's so many seasons, and there are plenty of seasons that I've never heard of anybody on them.
Yeah.
But yeah, Rupert is what? What is he in state government? Or was?
Oh, he was he
Did he win?
Was he actually
ran,
a senator?
He ran for something. I don't know.
Congress, something. Yeah, but he was really good friends with a computer teacher that I had, I feel like, in school.
The same one we talked about last week?
No.
Let's get into things. If that's all you got for the preamble of today's
That is
podcast.
all I have.
That's all you've got prepared for the entire
I've given my all.
program.
Mhm.
Today
Those
we're
are all my
talking
notes.
about Season 1, Episode 17, Physical Education, which was directed by Anthony Russo. It was written by Jessie Miller. This is, I'm presuming, her only writing credit of the series, and what a great one episode to have in your pocket.
Yeah, very
And it
fun
originally
episode.
aired March 4th, 2010.
I was going to make a Star Wars joke, but then I realized you said March and not May.
March the 4th, next month with you.
March 4th, and play your trumpets round the walls of Jericho.
Let's do some trivia. Let's stick to what we know instead of chartering whatever territory you're swimming into right now.
Alrighty, I have 3 questions.
I
this
think you
week.
went first last time. I'm going to go ahead. We always have 3. We all know. What characters do Shirley, Britta, and Troy suggest Abed should act like to attract women?
Okay. Shirley suggests Mike Brady of the Brady Bunch.
Naturally.
Britta suggests the female character Joe from The Facts of Life, but as a guy. And
After
I must say,
she thinks about it.
yeah, after she thinks about it, I'm with Britta on this one, honestly. And minus the guy part, I guess. I don't know. And
I don't know.
Troy suggests Calvin from Calvin and Hobbes, to which Pierce goes, Calvin Coolidge?
Yeah, that was a really funny line. And another funny line about Calvin, but we'll get to that when we get into the episode. Those are all correct. Good job, Steven.
Yay. Okay, I've got a question for you,
Okay.
Zach,
Yes?
if that is your real name. What
Do you know something I don't?
what did Abed use to make up his Jeff impressions? Like what
I
people?
figured this was going to be a question that everybody asked.
Yeah.
Let's see. Okay, so were there 4 people?
There were 4. Yes.
Okay, so it's, I don't know all the percentages, but it was definitely 40% Zach Braff from Scrubs.
Yeah.
And 30% Hilary Swank from movie that's escaping me. Is it like Boys Don't Cry?
Boys Don't Cry absolutely
Let's
is.
see the other 2. Oh God. Sam Malone from Cheers.
Yep.
And God, I know when you say the last one, I'm gonna know it, but it's not coming to me, and I don't want to wait that long.
Dick Van Dyke.
Yeah, of course. Okay.
Yep. Yeah.
Okay.
Which I thought was pretty good. I really liked the Zach Braff reference. As I think we've said before, we're both pretty big fans of Scrubs.
Yeah, I enjoy Scrubs a lot, and I've always wanted to ask you this to segue for a second. Do you listen to very many podcasts? Do you have any like foot in the podcasting world other than being a part of one?
I have like 2 toes in the podcast world.
I really enjoy Zach Braff and Donald Faison's Scrubs Rewatch podcast. It's very funny. And
I
it's
would
very
listen to
funny
that
to listen
one.
to their real world friendship. Yeah.
I think I would enjoy that because it's basically, what we're doing.
Anyway, my next question. What is the list of things that Pierce believes the group has sullied Abed's mind with, and what does Jeff refer to his list as?
Huh. Can you tell me when this is in the episode?
This is near the end after the group is like lamenting that they shouldn't have made Abed change himself. Pierce says something along the lines of, "We've sullied your mind with blank, blank, and blank."
Oh!
And
okay.
Jeff refers to it as something.
It was...
Here you go.
Shit. The last
Maybe
one's
not.
vagina.
Naturally.
And
Who cares about the other two, really?
They're the big three. Was it love,
Uh-huh.
lust, and vagina?
Very close. It was love, romance, and vaginas. The big three.
Vagina.
There's I can't find it, but there's a funny This Is Us joke in there somewhere. If anybody watches This Is Us, it's one of my kind of guilty pleasure shows.
I've seen like 3 episodes of it, and I cried at all of them to the point that I did not want to watch any more of the show.
Yeah, it's totally one of those shows where, like, they pull off all these tricks where it's like, you can tell when they're sitting down to write an episode, they're already like, what's going to be the moment that's like the tearjerker this time? And I hate stuff like that. I want it to be real and, like, catch me by surprise. But yet, it makes me cry every time anyway.
Mm-hmm.
All right, what's your next one?
All right, my next question for you.
Yes.
What does Jeff refer to the billiards class as when he's arguing with the teacher? Like he says that this class is blank.
Is it when he says something about the coolest sport in the world?
Yeah.
I don't remember what he said before that.
I'll give you at least partial points because the coolest sport is like the big part of it, but he says it's the desecration of America's coolest sport.
Yeah, I don't think I would have gotten desecration. Let's see. My last one is going to be, how is Abed's situation compared to The Notebook?
Aw. Well, in The Notebook, you know, she has Alzheimer's.
Well, no, like the line. You don't have to go that real into it. Do you remember the line from the episode?
I think in the episode she's like, oh, except in the Notebook she had Alzheimer's, and Abed has what does she say? Does she say a lucky lady into him or something like that? What does she say?
Close, partial credit worthy. Someone who likes him. Someone who likes the exact line.
Yeah.
And that ends our trivia. Before we get into listener trivia.
Does it though?
Huh? Do you have another one?
I do.
Oh, I'm sorry. I said I wasn't f***ing gonna say that. God.
Oh, bleep, bleep, bleepers.
Yep.
It's a really easy one, though. What book is the girl that drew Abed reading?
Pride and Also Prejudice.
Correct. 2 sins.
So now we'll move on. Before we get into the listener trivia questions, I've got an email that I am going to read.
Nope.
That's kind of separate from those. This comes from a email account titled Peep Review. This email also is from my girlfriend Lily.
Woo!
She says, "Hey fellas, long-time listener, first-time caller, what's up? Not exactly episode related, but it is cast related. If the members of Community were not played by the actors we all know and love, and you got to pick the cast, would you change anything up? Any other actors, actresses that you could also see playing the part, or would like to see play a similar part? Also, these choices do not exactly have to be living actors. Thanks, definitely not Lily."
Huh.
Really circling the drain to get people to write into the show.
Yeah. Huh. I actually have never thought about this before.
I think the first thing that came to mind is there are a couple of characters who I feel like could not be played by other people.
Yeah.
Those are Chang, the Dean, Abed.
Yep.
And I think someone else could have probably played Troy, but Donald Glover put such a personal stamp on it.
It would have been such a different character.
Jeff could be a lot of people. But
Ryan
I think,
Seacrest, for instance.
like your Zach Braffs, or I couldn't help but think someone like Dax Shepard or like Will Arnett. I've joked that Will Arnett and Joel McHale have some similarities before.
Yeah, I could definitely see Will
However,
Arnett.
think a lot of the charm that Jeff has that keeps him from being totally unlikable is Joel. So I don't know if the character would have had the likableness by some of those other actors, but definitely it's like an everyman white dude role.
Yeah, I agree with that one.
Kind of same with Annie and Britta, although I believe Britta, particularly Gillian Jacobs' mannerisms, informs a lot of the character.
Mm-hmm.
Pierce? Pierce.
Pierce could have been...
Someone else probably should have played Pierce, but I think Chevy Chase is Pierce Hawthorne.
Yeah.
And Shirley could have gone a lot of different directions too. I don't know. The characters are all pretty like cookie cutter archetypes at first, to where anyone could have gotten casted in that pilot.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm very glad we ended up with the cast that we did.
Yeah, I think that for me, the ones that you can't change, like you said, are Chang, the Dean, Abed, and Troy. Because I think they just add so much to the role that like no one else could have played it anywhere like that. You know?
Yes, absolutely.
I think Britta would be hard to replace just because like she she just encaptures Britta so much, encapsulates, whichever the right term is there. Like you said, there could be some interesting Jeffs. I think that.
I don't think for the better necessarily, though.
No, because he's at that balance that he can play kind of a douche, but he also is likable at the end of the day, and it's hard to find that balance. So good on them there. I think that, like you said, Pierce probably could have and should have been played by someone else, but Pierce Hawthorne and Chevy Chase
the character definitely became an extension of what other people perceive Chevy to be, for sure.
Absolutely. But I think that regardless, all the cast did a really good job of growing their characters into more than what they, are on paper.
And a lot of times shows like these that are so funny, the characters become so much the people who play them. It's just how it works, because the way those people like to joke around becomes the way the character like jokes around and stuff.
Absolutely.
So it's hard to see a different world where someone else would have played the characters. Well, anyway, thanks for the question, Peep Review. Please do the dishes tonight.
Yeah, I mean, and I do think that Scarlett Johansson could have done a good Troy, but I think she was busy.
All right, let's move on to some listener trivia questions.
All right, I've got
no
4
shortage
emails
of them. Yeah,
here. Yeah,
let's speed round if we can.
All right. Question number 1. No, I'm just kidding. All right, our first email is from our good buddy MJ. Says, hey y'all, thank you for another great podcast on communication studies. Apparently you guys and us listeners were really in sync last week with all the overlapping questions. To make up for that, I made this week's quiz a little more challenging. Oh no.
Damn it, I had no problem with it.
The more episodes we have in common, the less stupid we look. Especially since this week's one of my all-time favorite community episodes. Excited to hear y'all's discussion on it, and I hope you enjoy my trivia round. Tried extra hard to be unique with my questions. Hope it pays off.
I respect that this is one of your all-time favorites. I think the all-time favorites usually go to some of the like stunt episodes, and this isn't one of them, but it's a great crown jewel episode. We'll get into what we thought later.
Okay, question number 1. Who bought the bagels for the study group in the opening scene?
Shirley.
Correct. Me acting like I know the answers for fact, but that is correct.
Is that what you would have said?
Yeah. What movie character was Abed channeling when the bagels fell on the floor? I actually didn't get this reference.
When they fell
13.
on the floor?
Yeah. He says
well,
13.
I don't think he's exactly channeling a character. I think that's just a phenomenal Abed moment,
right,
showing the type of the way Abed's brain works and how, I don't know, just
unless there's
so
a specific Rain Man scene where
he has to count things. That's what I was thinking, something like Rain Man or A Beautiful Mind or something like that. But I didn't exactly read that one as a specific reference. Next.
All right. Besides hearts, what else was on the drawing of Abed that Troy found in his Spanish book? Was there a halo?
I was thinking, were there stars and lines emphasizing the shapes and stuff? I don't really know.
Yeah, I guess we'll
just
see.
kind of pulled that one out.
All right. This is one I definitely will not get correct. Speaking of, what is the title of the Spanish textbook the study group uses? No need for the subtitle.
I've seen it a million times, and I've looked at the cover, but no, I don't got it. I feel like the word dos might be in it. Something Spanish.
Hola, español.
Hasta luego.
Siente uno. Right? Siente uno? Is that how you say it? I don't know.
I think that was right. We're going to give ourselves a point for that one, MJ. Don't bother double-checking your answers.
What page number is visible on the chalkboard in Chang's classroom in this episode? Be careful on this one. I'm going to guess 69.
Damn it, you're being tough on us today. Be careful on this one. What do you mean? What is this code you speak in? We're just people, MJ. I have no idea.
Okay, what phrase is on the regulation shirts that Coach Bogner gave out at the start of billiards class?
Oh my god.
I'm going to guess...
I know it had the word Greendale. I saw the word Greendale. That's all I saw. I watched the DVDs. They're in 360p, so I have no idea what anything says. Watching the DVDs is like watching it without my glasses on sometimes.
Okay. All right. Number 7. What... Damn it. What
now
was
MJ
Joey
just
holding?
wants to with us, and he's like, "Oh, what? How many pieces of paper are on the desk?"
I hope everyone realizes we literally watched this episode 3 times back to back to back immediately before recording these episodes, and we still don't know these answers. Okay.
And I think we could have watched them 20 times back to back, and I
And
would
I'd
not
never
know
know.
what page number was. Yeah. Anyway, go ahead. Sorry,
All right.
MJ. I'm just giving you a hard time. You know we love you, bro.
Number 7. What was Joey holding when he saw Abed hitting on Ginny?
The last thing I was looking at was what he was
I
holding.
know. I'm going to say knuckle sandwich.
I'm going to say nothing. I got nothing. MJ.
What billiard shot was Leonard doing before Jeff came to challenge Coach Bogner? Now, this is a good one. I don't remember the answer, but I remember that this was a thing.
I don't know. Is this just like I need to know about pool
I think
to know
they
the
say
answer
it.
to this question? Jeez.
They're like, oh, nice back corner,
Did I watch this one?
Leonard.
Damn. Back corner?
Something with like a backside corner smack. I don't know.
I like to present myself in these episodes as being like the community historian of the two of us.
I know, and
Damn.
it's rough out here.
God.
All right, number 9. Okay, I know one part of this. Name
Have we
the
gotten
title.
any of these?
We've gotten the first
One or two? Yeah. Okay, sorry. The title?
Literally the first one. Oh God. Name the title and artist of the song that was played during Jeff and Coach Bogner's billiards match. And it was
I'm going to
Werewolf
play
in
it
London.
at the end of our episode today. It is Werewolves in London. I do not know the singer, but I have always enjoyed that song a lot.
Yeah, it's a good one. Okay, bonus points. You can name the movie the match is channeling. I don't specifically know if that song was used in a specific like sports movie montage.
It reminds me of an episode of the web series I made in high school where it was pool related. But
I'm a very big fan of that web series, by the way,
let's
and I'm
not
still
go
bitter
into
that I
it
never got to
that
be on it.
far, And I'm assuming that's what MJ is referring to.
That's got to be
That's
it.
probably what they were referencing.
Well, if he's a true fan. All right. This is my probably favorite moment of the entire episode. Why didn't the dean stop the naked billiard match right away?
Did he give a specific reason? I feel like it's pretty obvious.
He
was
did.
like,
He said...
"Oh, Chang says, should you stop this?" He was like, "We'll give it a second. We'll see
Yeah,
where
he
this
said...
goes."
What did he say? I think I wrote down part of this line because it made me laugh so hard. He said... It's towards the end. Soon, just gathering evidence.
Oh, okay.
That was
Nice.
great. Okay, among the main cast...
Is this still MJ? Dude.
Yeah.
Dude.
Who was staring at Jeff as he lifted up his leg to make the winning shot? And that would be Annie for sure was
Feel
getting
like-
an eyeful.
Shirley took a glance, maybe.
Britta looked
Maybe
away, but she
Troy.
looked a few
Britta-
times too.
Yeah, I noticed that for sure. Britta's reactions to all those scenes was pretty funny. I feel comfortable locking in Annie, and I feel like Shirley is a strong possibility.
Oh, yeah,
followed
especially
by
when that leg went
potential
up.
for like Troy. Where was Troy when this happened?
Yeah, Troy was there.
He might have looked.
He might have looked. He does like butt stuff. All right. And what was the name of the girl in Jeff's class? Oh, in Jeff's class? Who wanted to talk to Abed? I have no clue.
The
on
girl
this
in
one.
the end who comes up and is like, "Hey,
Yeah,
can I
they
meet your
say her
friend?"
name.
Yeah, I didn't catch her name at all.
I didn't notice they said it because I paid attention to her, so I you'd think I would know, but well, we have been bested. I think we got 2
Jesus
out of
Christ.
12.
All right, moving on.
All right, kick to the pants. All right, next up, we've got an email from Anorak, who says, "Hey guys, it was hilarious to be on the last podcast. I'm female, by the way, and I loved every bit of it. We probably assumed that you were a guy because we didn't think that anyone else would like us. And that's
Apologies, madame.
sorry." Oh no.
Steven's mom listens.
She does listen, but she doesn't like us. She constantly tells me how wrong we are.
What, is she like a shipper?
No, she just watches the show and thinks we're wrong
Okay.
about
All right.
everything. Okay, she said she's so sorry about her questions being too hard, and she tried to find something easier this time.
Thank
well,
God.
we appreciate it. Question 1: what is the name of the girl Abed is after in this episode? It's a very
Jenny, right?
Jenny Adams.
Yes.
Jenny Adams. Yeah.
Locking it
Okay.
in.
What is seen on the poster in Coach Bogner's office? Oh, I don't remember this one.
It's himself.
That's
He
great.
has a poster of himself that has his own name and
Nice.
like 3 different poses that he's making. It's very funny.
Oh, I gotta get one of those. And he also does have that nice picture of the naked
him or
men
of you?
playing pool. Either or.
He's also got a framed pair of shorts as well.
That's great. Number 3 question, and I hope that I'm going to get this one right, but they said, which long-running insider joke is first brought up in this episode? And I don't know if this is the first time he says it, but I know Chang says, "You're the worst" to Britta.
Yeah, that's what I thought it was too. Mm-hmm. I think there might have potentially been other running jokes that were introduced in this episode. Ooh. But that's what my mind goes to.
Yeah, and then she says,
I think that's the first
it,
time
guys.
I actually said it.
Still love your podcast, and I look forward to the next episode. Well, thank you
What
for
do you mean
writing
still? Did we make it a tough decision for you? Were you like against all
odds? I'm pretty
odds?
sure
I
that
guess
people
I'll stick
turn
around.
it off and on again so many times over the course of an episode. All right, we got
Thanks for
email numero 3. It says, "Hola, Steven Isaac. Loved hearing the communication studies episode. Y'all brighten up my Mondays. Here are my questions for this episode." Well, thanks. This is from Danny. And she says, which character does Troy want Abed to play when he talks to Jenny Adams, and why? And we answered this earlier. It was Calvin from Calvin and Hobbes. But why is choice. It?
Mm-hmm. Oh, it was something about, like, if anyone gives him any trouble, he'll just pee on him because of those bumper stickers. I don't know if that's the... I don't know
if that joke was in... Was that joke in the regular episode? Because I don't remember.
It had to have been. Funny. I think if it was just like easy joke to go in one ear out the other. I think it was very quickly said.
Yeah, I know he also said that he was friends with a tiger and always went on adventures. So, what more do you need? And then what percentage of Zach Braff does Abed put in Jeff's impersonation?
I think I already said that. That was 40. 40%.
Okay, and then what bet is Chang placing when Jeff and the coach are playing?
This one, I tried to look for really hard. I must have missed the line where they cleared it up because I kept seeing him with money and like collecting bets and stuff, but I think I missed the line that set it up.
Well, I don't think he says
3 times
money on Jeff losing or something like that, but I know he was betting against Jeff.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense.
Okay. And apparently we do, you know what? She does say her name. At the very end, what's the name of the girl who introduces herself to Abed? She's like, my name's whatever, and he's like, oh, hi, I'm Abed.
I don't know.
Yeah, was it like Amy or something? Might have been Amy.
Gravy Jones?
Gravy Jones.
Lead singer of the Monkees?
Yes. All right, else? Rest in peace. Not on that, we have one more email, though.
Thanks, Danny.
Thank you, Danny. This email is from the Study Room 7 from Communities. Hey there. Our
fearless
leader, yeah, Captain O Captain, says, "Hi guys, how creepy is White Abed?" Very. I hope that's question number 1.
I haven't seen the second season of Atlanta, but I know there's an episode featuring Donald Glover as like a white man that's really creepy and stalkery, and he's like in this really creepy white face the whole episode. Is it anything like that?
Same. It looks strikingly similar. Yeah.
I'd give him a solid 6.5, 7 on the creep level, but I'm more impressed by, I don't know, just the way they did it and how well it worked.
Honestly, it looks a lot, and this is going to sound stupid, it looks a lot more realistic here than it normally does when they do whiteface in shows, I guess.
Yes, welcome to You Can't Disappoint a Podcast. This week we'll be having a very thoughtful and tasteful discussion on the merits of whiteface. I'm Zach. Thanks for tagging along.
Would it be great if we took that direction this week? Okay.
It's so offensive.
This question we had already, but who looks and who doesn't of the main cast when Jeff gets into position? And we pretty much locked in Annie and Shirley for sure, with maybes on Britta and Troy.
Yes, and I feel like Pierce could be a maybe as well. Because he's like, I don't look like that.
And then this one, I'll read the question just because he says, I know one of you already chose this, but what was Abed's mix to do Jeff? Which we did. It was 10% Dick Van Dyke, 20% Sam Morrison. Is that it?
Sam Malone.
Sam Malone. Sorry, I'm not looking. 40% Zach Braff and 30% Hilary Swank from Boys Don't Cry, which is a good movie, by the way.
I thought you were looking because you rattled those off really well. Good on you, pal.
Got them locked in. Thank you. Okay. Wow. Whoa. Is this the moment you considered Annie Abed a ship? No, never. Haven't ever, probably won't ever, but thanks for playing.
There are a couple moments like this in the series, but it's almost always like Abed is like showing off the charm of a certain character that he's portraying, and
Yeah.
Annie is such like hook, line, and sinker for it that it almost leads to something. I think Abed is a pretty asexual person, and even in the couple of situations in the series when he has a significant other, I still feel like he's probably mostly asexual.
Yeah, I'm not.
But
I
I
don't
love
think
that
that-
scene where he channeled Don Draper, and Annie was like, "Oh my God, what's happening?" to
Yeah,
him?"
which I'm sure we'll talk more about when we get there, because
Absolutely.
multiple layers to the funny.
People,
But
stop asking us about shipping things because we don't. And
we're
I
like
know
the
that's
two Community
disappointing.
fans who
Yeah, I
don't
know.
want anyone to be together except me wanting Donald Glover to be with whoever makes him happy.
I know that's disappointing to you guys, and I don't want to disappoint you guys. We're the Can't Disappoint podcast, so stop asking us.
You're just asking to be disappointed in that case.
We kind of like Slater, and we kind of like Annie and Vaughn, and that's not what the people want. So just,
No, it's not.
Of course, I'm kidding. Ask us whatever you want.
Except that.
Okay, do we have anything else?
I think that's all the trivia this week. It's been a
Great.
great episode, guys. Thanks for listening.
Yeah, thank you. We will not be back again. So, Steven, overall, what did you think of today's episode, Physical Education?
I really liked it.
I did too. I loved
remembered
it. I would
some
say I
things
loved
of
it.
Yeah, you told me that this kind of ranks pretty high for you, as far as season 1 episodes so far, and I have to agree. It's like this was pretty stellar. I think some of my hardest laughs since we've started doing this definitely took place today.
This episode is definitely my favorite of the first season, more grounded, like class-focused episodes. Mm-hmm. Like, without a doubt, it's my favorite of those so far. And it is my second favorite episode of the season so far, only being bested by Comparative Religion.
That's high praise.
And there are a lot of episodes that are right along in that area, but I thought this one's so funny. I think the guest character that they've got as the teacher fits in so well.
Yeah.
The whole dilemma in this episode with Jeff and Shorts is so silly, and it works way better than it should. And it does some good stuff for Jeff's character as far as him accepting that he's Greendale now. And yeah, I had a lot of fun with it. I think the subplot works really well also.
I agree.
I think it's the best example so far, even though it's still like problematic to see them do this. It's the best, like, the study group tries to change one of the people within it to work whatever they're trying to do that episode. I think it's the best one of those so far.
Well, and what's funny about it is literally until this moment right now, I forgot that the Abed storyline was the subplot, that Jeff is technically the main, that's how it all ends up and all that.
Because surprisingly, most of our questions have been about the Abed side,
Well, I
hasn't
think
it?
I think that, as good as all the Jeff stuff was, stellar Abed stuff today.
I don't know if I necessarily agree with you that it's like the highlight of the episode for me, because I don't think anything can beat the okay, like the first, we'll just get into it. I think the first 2/3 of the episode, the Abed stuff wins over, but then the battle at the end of the episode really brings it in Jeff's camp.
I'll agree with that.
So let's get into this.
Mm-hmm.
The episode starts off how all episodes really should, with a nice close-up of Joel McHale's ass.
Which I have to say, there's one scene in particular in this episode that his butt looks nicer than it has ever.
Okay, have you been keeping tally of that?
I mean, I notice when it's not there.
Yeah. So he walks into the study group. I think it's an early morning-ish study session. Shirley's brought bagels for everyone. They all have their cup of coffee from Hot and Brown. And yeah, basically this is just bringing us to the infamous Brita bagel scene. Jeff mentions that he's having his first day of a pool class today, or a billiards class. I like how they always set stuff up in these opening scenes. You know what I mean?
This was honestly one of my favorite openings in a little while, because it wasn't so focused on, okay, let's just make a really funny joke. It was like, all right, let's set up the entire story right here. It was cool to me because they were able to have, 3 different kind of things hitting here. We have, Jeff with his cool new outfit for billiards class. We have the bagels, and we have the Abed stuff all kind of working together seamlessly. And I think they continue to work that well throughout the whole episode.
Yeah, the best cold opens, like, get all of the elements of the episode started while also having like a non sequitur or like a little skit or joke that's just something to laugh at to start off the episode, and this has it all.
Yeah.
We discussed it for a second. Someone drops all the bagels, and Abed just instantly is 13. He knows exactly how many there were, how many spilled out. It's really important to him that he lets that out. And I think it's a really nice, small character moment of Abed. We haven't talked a lot recently about how Abed is a pretty good representation of someone who's probably autistic, even if the show never wanted to put that title exactly on the character, which I respect. And I think that is just another feather in the cap of ways that they've done that well.
Yeah, I thought that was a good kind of, little touch in there.
Yeah, the group all gets to have a real good laugh at Britta and the way she pronounces bagels. She says bagel.
Oh, great. So much for bagels.
So much for what?
The bagels. You dropped them on the floor.
They're called bagels.
I lived in New York, Troy. I know what a bagel is.
What the hell is wrong with you?
Which, in the commentary, Dan admitted that, this is how he says bagel.
What the hell?
This is, a real thing. I guess it's not like a dialect thing, but there are some people who say it, and those people are wrong.
They're just wrong, yeah.
Yeah, and Dan said that he got a lot of slack for it, so he had to write it into the show.
Are there any words that you feel like you say weird?
See, I feel like if you say them weird, you probably don't know that you do.
Probably don't know.
So I'm sure there's a good chance, if I ever do, listeners call me out on it. Steven, call me out on it. There's some stuff like, do you say neither or neither?
It depends.
Yeah, I have some of those where I might say those words in the least popular way because I'm a hipster.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Let me know.
I get really self-conscious every time I have to say the word data or data, whichever one. I don't know.
I get really nervous whenever I have to spell the word necessary or unnecessary.
God. If it weren't for my phone.
And also, my autocorrect, I must spell it so wrong because it never gives me a replacement word, to fix it. It's always I don't know what you're trying to do here, man.
I hate now that, like you said, I spell it wrong so much that my autocorrect's like, oh, well, you know what you're doing. No, I don't. I need you to help me.
Everyone's different reaction to Britta saying bagel is really funny and good, group character work. Troy's like a little kid. He's like, they're called bagels?
Because how often does Troy get to, outsmart somebody on something?
Yeah. I like Pierce's, what the hell is wrong with you? You say bagel wrong, Shirley says. And yeah, they just all have a nice moment. It sucks that, I don't know, we're just going to have to accept that Britta becomes the butt of the joke all the time, because that's what her character is. And this one, I don't know, it's pretty funny. It's a good one. I think
so.
We still love her. Smile. Abed doesn't smile at all. He's just watching. They turn to the page in the textbook that they're studying, and in Troy's book, kicks off, like you said, Abed's storyline. Why don't you tell us about it?
All right. Well, when Troy opens up his book, we notice that there is a gorgeous drawing of a very Abed-like figure, and I think it's Shirley that makes the joke that, well, Troy, in the Bible. That level of friendship is wrong.
Hey, I was right. The drawing has hearts and stars with lines accenting the stars, kind of like a rainbow.
Nice. That's beautiful. It was a very good drawing.
Yeah. And you're right. Shirley says, strictly speaking, Troy, the Bible condemns that type of friendship. And I think there's one other line Shirley has in this one that's borderline homophobic.
Yeah. She says another one when they're like, oh, well, let's go find, because they deduce that, I can't remember who says it originally. They're like, well, I think that, there's a girl, because Troy says that he bought the book pre-owned. So it must have been someone before who drew that picture of Abed. And so then they decide they're going to go find this girl, and Shirley's like, oh, well, find the girl for you or find Jesus if it's a boy.
Yeah, so everyone is really invested in this, just like everyone always is. They think it's so cute that someone obviously has a crush on Abed and is doodling him in their spare time. And it is kind of cute, and I get why they'd get invested in it. I think this is the first one where it's not inherently selfish.
Yeah.
All of them are a little bit rude when it comes to the, oh, you have to jump on this because this might never happen again, Abed, is a little rude, but the intention is good. And the ragtag group of Shirley, Annie, Pierce, Troy, who are really spearheading this, maybe Britta a little bit too, I think is also nice.
I do too, because I like that, it's not Jeff and Britta at the reins trying to, fix or turn Abed into what they think he needs to be. It's more so
Right.
them saying, oh, this is a really good opportunity for Abed.
And them kind of misunderstanding Abed's comfortability in who he is.
Mm-hmm. Which is actually funny because the two people that kind of early on champion Abed being himself are the two people who try and get him to not be himself the most often in the show.
Pierce is just so insistent that this has to be a fat girl.
What's he say? The thick lines? Or
Yeah, he says these thick lines were drawn with a heavy hand. Everyone kind of lets it go. Shirley has her, we got to find this girl unless it's a boy, then we find him Jesus. But either way, it's going to be fun.
Oh, boy.
Jeff kind of stays out of it. He's literally the only person who, gets it. That, Abed doesn't need this.
Yeah.
He just kind of stays quiet, and he and Abed exchange looks, which I think is a nice moment, indicative of how well they understand each other.
Yeah, overall, I thought this was a really good Jeff episode.
A great Jeff episode, a great Abed episode.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like it's pretty safe to say that it's going to be a battle between the two of them for MVPs this week.
Yeah, I have a pick right now, but it is subject to change by the time we finish talking about
I feel the same way. And this is an episode where I feel like quite a few characters earned it. Quite a few characters portrayed themselves really well, were very funny, and the story, I don't know. There were a lot of things going well for a lot of people this week.
I would almost give it to the whole study group this week. But, they're
we
stars.
don't do that.
They're stars.
We don't do that.
Yeah, winners and losers around these parts. Your first or your last.
After the theme song blurb, we get Chang in the Spanish classroom, and this is a bit that I've always thought is really funny. When he keeps saying adios, and everyone says adios back to him, and he's trying to get them to leave. He's like, guys, class is over. I always thought that was pretty funny.
Very funny joke. Now, I do have a qualm here.
Okay.
And Chang points this out in a minute. But, they next thing that kind of happens is they come up to ask, or Shirley comes up, it's like, Senior Chang, we want to know who had this book. Why didn't they think, I feel like my first thought when I get a book is, well, let's
Who
look.
had this book before me?
Yeah, you can look and see. And that maybe, I don't know.
Oh, also, by the way, the page number on the chalkboard is 262. I still don't understand why that was something we had to be careful about. So MJ, I think it was MJ who asked that, yeah?
Yeah.
If you could please clarify, that would be phenomenal. Yeah, I agree with you. The only thing I can think of is if most of the other people bought their books new, because Troy mentioned buying his used. Mm-hmm. Maybe they just didn't think of that right away. And once they figure out the name, because Chang's like, it's right there, Britta has a line where she's like, no. Who says it?
Annie.
Yeah, Annie says that she was a little bit focused on the wrong way Britta said bagel.
Which is fair, because that was going on at the same time.
Pierce's line, before he reveals the names that are in the front of the book, and Chang's pretending that he just knows it, psychically, Pierce says something like, oh, if all Chinese were psychic or could read minds, you'd have started using birth control centuries ago.
Pierce. A very Pierce joke.
It's a heavy statement, Pierce.
Yeah, that's a pretty...
He says to, I believe, a Korean man. I believe Senior Chang is Korean. And I think he's told Pierce that before, if I'm being honest. So yeah, they find out the name. After Annie mentions that she was so focused on Britta saying bagel wrong, I like the little exchange of Chang saying,
pause. I think he's Chinese.
Chang is?
Yeah.
I don't think Kim Jong is.
Kim Jong? But Ben Chang is, I think. Supposed to be Chinese. Right? Because Chang is Chinese. Is a Chinese name.
Let's see. I'm seeing if I can just Google it. No, not really. I just looked up, is Chang Chinese, and it didn't bring up community.
I searched, is Senior Chang. I said, what ethnicity is Senior Chang?
Here we go. Here's a Reddit thread. Is Chang Korean or Chinese? Kim Jong is Korean, but Chang calls himself El Tigre Chino, which means the Chinese tiger. That's fair.
Well, now it's real confusing, isn't it?
Here's where it is. This is a line from a future episode that let's give a shout out to 8 years ago, Gates of Delirium on Reddit. Thanks for answering our question.
Shout out Gates of Delirium 8 years ago.
I recall him saying to Shirley when he thought he was the father of Shirley's baby, why she didn't like him. Was it because he was Korean? Then Shirley responds by saying, you're Chinese. And Chang says, there's a difference?
Ah,
So he
funny
is
joke.
Chinese, but he sometimes refers to himself as Korean, I suppose.
Okay, well there we go. Now we know.
Thank you, whatever of Delirium. Please come on the show. We're dying to have you.
I really want him to elaborate more on his feelings on this.
And then we get the funny little blurb where Chang's like, "How do you say it?" Britt is like, "I don't." And then, come on, say it, Bagel. Oh, you're the worst.
You're the worst.
Giving us the first official "You're the worst," I believe.
Speaking of You're the Worst, I still haven't finished it.
You're the Worst is a phenomenal show, and I think anyone who likes it, and especially if you're someone who gets invested in like shipping and relationships on shows,
Oh, yeah.
it's a rom-com sitcom in the best possible way. It does it so right when so many others do it so wrong. It's 5 short seasons, and each one is great. The way it ends is perfect, Steven. You got to watch that last season.
I know.
Please watch that show.
It's
that's my
truly a
recommendation of the
great
week.
show.
You're the Worst is... I think I did it when we did a Twitter thread of our favorite shows. I'd probably put You're the Worst in like a top 5 favorite shows of all time for me. That show really
It's
meant a
up
lot to
there.
me.
It's really good.
Okay, so the group has a name, and they bring this information back to Abed, who really doesn't care. This is when Pierce says, "See, it's a fat girl's name. Might as well be Gravy Jones."
Gravy Jones.
He's
What
like,
a
"Well,
terrible thing.
Abed doesn't care because he can clearly see that she's massive. And he says, Pierce, it doesn't matter what she looks like. She'll be great for Abed. This will be good for him. And Abed's like,
It will?
It is. And they ask him if he's excited about talking to her. And he's like, I wasn't really planning on it. And Jeff, as he was earlier, he's sitting in the background, like listening but not being active in what's going on. He's like, guys, come on. He's not interested. Like, stop asking. It's clear, but they just can't do it.
I have a question for you, Zach. Have
Okay.
you ever had, and obviously this was, in the past, but have you ever had, like, where somebody was really like, oh, you should really go after this person. I think you'd be perfect for each other. I think they like you, and you were really not feeling it? I guess beggars can't be choosers.
I don't know if I've ever had like a group thing like this where it's like massive, but I've had a couple of situations where someone tried to set me up with someone. There nothing really wrong with them, and they were really adamant, and I just wasn't interested.
Yeah.
And I'm really bad at saying I'm not interested too.
I, unfortunately, in my, slightly older than I used to be self, I'm bad about it because I will just like gradually disappear into nothingness because I don't want to be mean, and that's also not nice. So
I do that. Sometimes I would even do that when I was interested, just because I'm weird.
Right? I'm just bad.
We'd like hang out, and they'd be like, "I really like you," and I'd be like, "I really like you," and then I'd like be like Homer fading into shrubs. Or,
Yeah,
like,
I literally went on a date not too long ago and had a wonderful time, and she was really nice.
and you never spoke to her again.
Not really.
Was that the girl who you were like, well, guys, I went on a date at a dance club the other week.
Yeah, she like asked me to hang out a couple more times, and I was, yeah.
It's not exactly a love story to follow on the podcast, huh?
No. But for all
Shirley-
those Steven shippers out there, just know.
Well, Shirley says what everyone's saying to you right now and says, Abed, you've got to go for this immediately, sooner if possible.
That's what everyone was saying to me.
Well, it seems like, I don't know, I've known you long enough to where, like, you've been a single man for a while.
I have been.
And I feel like it used to bug you a lot. Do you feel more comfortable?
I do. I
not
definitely feel like
being-
I'm more so single by choice now than before I very much was not.
Yeah, that's a good place to be.
Yeah.
Okay.
You say from your happy home and your woman and your cat.
Hey, well, you're the one who gave her up, man.
Sorry, I know about that.
All
I'm
this could
looking
have
to
been
cash
yours.
in.
This kingdom could have rested on your head,
The crown could have been mine.
but you got the out of Indiana, so
I did.
who really
I
cares?
did. I did switch time zones.
Yeah. So even Troy, this is one thing that rubbed me a little bit wrong. Troy says to Abed, his best friend, for people like you, this kind of opportunity only comes around once in a lifetime.
Yeah, which
Wild,
again,
or
not
whatever.
very nice line by Troy.
Coming from his best friend, and all of these people are meaning well, but
Mm-hmm.
that was one of these that are, I don't know, really shows what he's actually thinking.
Yeah.
Pierce comes up to him and says it's so important to date while you're in college. It's a time of freedom and exploration. Pierce tells this weird story about like pillow fights turning to like lusty adventures.
Yeah.
And is like, Britta knows all about it, as if, I don't know if that's like a Britta's a lesbian jab from Pierce, or if it's like Pierce implying that Britta has had sexy pillow fights with him.
Right? I thought that it was a serious Britta's lesbian jab, but it might be Pierce's fantasy, that we know he has that involve him, Britta, and at least one other woman.
At least one other. I think he said with larger breasts he would prefer to.
If he had his way.
Here we get a funny interaction that I'm excited to unpack with you, where Abed says, "Oh, you're gonna can't buy me, love me," which is really fun to say. Can't buy me, love me.
Yeah.
You're gonna can't buy me, love me. It's really fun to say, and people don't quite get what he's saying at first. People being Shirley and Troy, and one of them says, "Oh, he's love don't cost a thing. Him wants to love don't cost a thing. Him is what Troy says," and then Shirley's like, "Oh, I get it. Have you seen these films?"
Yes, I have. Both of them.
I have not
several
seen
times.
either of them.
Okay.
Are they direct versions of each other? Just is it like a whiz situation?
Well, I wouldn't give either movie that much credit. Can't Buy Me
But
Love
you know what
really
I mean,
cute,
where it's like a
80s movie. And Can't Buy Me Love was definitely the far earlier movie for listeners who did not know that. But came out like late 80s. Patrick Dempsey is in it. It's really cute. He like agrees to like fix this girl's like clothes as long as she like pretends to date him, and then she ends up liking him and he gets popular. Love Don't Cost a Thing, if I remember correctly, is the one with Nick Cannon.
I haven't seen either of them, but
and I like Love Don't Cost a Thing, but it's like he's this like nerdy kid and he wants to date Christina Milian, and he like gets a haircut and starts playing basketball, and then they date.
It's like a Stefan Urkel situation.
It's really funny too. If I had to say which one was if I had to pick one to watch right now, probably would be Love Don't Cost a Thing, but Can't Buy Me Love's a better movie.
But are they really like that, where they're both basically the same, except one is more geared for a white audience and one is more geared for a black audience? Are the plots that similar?
Yes. Can't Buy Me Love Love Don't Cost a Thing is definitely like a direct take from that, and they were like, let's make it black.
After this conversation, Jeff finally stands up and is like, guys, just nobody's can't buy me, love me, anything, or whatever. And he also makes a racial-based entertainment joke that I don't think comes as well from the white man. Mm-hmm. He's like, we've all seen enough after-school specials to know how changing someone ends up going, and Shirley and Troy don't gather what he's talking about. And then he says Fat Albert, so they understand, because Fat Albert was after-school special.
Well, and here's my issue with this one. I feel like after-school specials were pretty universal. I think that Fat Albert as a show accomplished a lot of the things that after-school specials did, and addressed a lot of tough topics that were addressed in very special episodes. Like every episode of Fat Albert was a very special episode.
Oh, I've seen plenty of Fat Albert.
Yeah,
you don't need to tell me.
It's solid. I'm sure that I've sung the Dope is for Dope song on here before.
You have sung it on this podcast before.
Okay.
You have.
Well, I'll make a return season 2 then. I'll hold off for now. That's my favorite episode. But yeah, I think that one doesn't land as solidly, but I get where he's coming from, I guess.
Yeah, and then Pierce is like, good thing there aren't any old people here. This conversation would probably be total gibberish to them.
Which was
It's
super
not like
funny.
after school. It's not like any of those things are new.
Pierce is prehistoric. Pierce talks like he has only ever used a radio.
Well, Pierce was doing so much cocaine in the 70s that he didn't have time to watch an episode of Fat Albert.
Pierce didn't own a TV until a few weeks ago.
Britta says, you know what, Jeff, you're unprecedentedly correct in this instance. Abed, when we find this girl, you're going to approach her just because, girl, you're amazing. Just the way you are. And then Jeff, even though Britta's like proving his point, he says, yeah, and they're going to have a bagel. And everyone starts laughing at Britta again.
One of my favorite things about this episode is that they didn't let it die.
Did you see? No, my favorite thing about this episode is when they start laughing here, Pierce starts doing this dance.
What?
Where he jumps up in the air, and he has his hands like jazz hands by his head kind of, and is like going side to side. Just for a second. It's really funny. And on the audio commentary, they were like, everyone, look at what Chevy is doing right here. It's pretty funny. So now we cut to the weirdest PE area classroom of sorts.
Yeah,
of
what
all
the
time.
hell is this room? It's like a weight room / there's a pool table in it.
Yeah, the first thing we see is a man on like a step climber thing, and he has like a pooping face on. We see people lifting weights. We see someone on a different kind of stair climber thing. There's a lot of workout equipment on one side of the room, and yeah, the other side of the room has 3 pool tables and like a punching bag. This is a super weird PE class. And here we get the first of several, kind of fun little montages of like pool playing, of like trick shots and stuff like this. This first one, Jeff is in his leather jacket. He's feeling really cool, and he's kind of showing off, doing pretty well, doing a bunch of trick shots. That girl in his class who mentions potentially being interested in Abed later is eyeballing his work.
Are you any good at pool?
I didn't think I was for the longest time. I used to be really bad at it whenever I played as a kid. One of my childhood best friends had a pool table in their basement. So he'd always try to get us to play, and I'd always suck. So for the longest time, I wouldn't try to do it. As I got older and as I was able to start hanging out in bars, I wasn't into it.
Yeah.
And then one day I decided just to try, and now I love to play it. I don't know if I'm necessarily any good, but I don't think I'm a slouch, and I enjoy it. I can't do any trick shots or anything, but I could win a game.
Nice. I am comically bad at pool.
Well, next time you're in town, and assuming we can get in our full hazmat gear to go out in public, we could try to challenge each other.
Can we share a hazmat suit and like play pool as one person?
Well, we're gonna need to for what's gonna be happening.
We're gonna like hustle everyone and pretend to be one person.
3 layers of plastic or whatever cannot keep me from being my friend. But yeah, I don't consider myself anything special at pool, but I think it's a fun game.
I like to watch it when it's on TV.
Really?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's pretty entertaining.
Okay. So now we've got to talk about. So as Jeff is doing this, the coach comes in. His name is Coach Bogner. He comes in. He's saying hey, nice shooting, good clean strokes. This man is a kind of a character actor legend.
Yeah, big time.
This guy shows up in a lot of stuff. His voice is really instantly recognizable. And I didn't know his name before this, but I sure knew what I knew him from. This actor's name is Blake Clark. He's been in a lot of the Adam Sandler and Friends films, like The Waterboy, Little Nicky.
Yeah.
This is an Adam Sandler, but he was in Joe Dirt, and then he was in like Mr. Deeds, 50 First Dates. After the original actor who plays Slinky Dog in the Toy Story franchise passed away, it's now Blake Clark. He's done it since Toy Story 3.
Nice, and has done a good job with it.
Yeah, Disney World, to bring it up again, we rode there's like a Slinky Dog roller coaster that's really cool, where like the cars and stuff are made out of Slinky Dog, and his voice plays through it while you're riding it. And he was also on Home Improvement. He was like a handyman shop owner.
Nice.
And he was also, what I know him most as, is as Sean's dad on Boy Meets World.
Yeah, I know him most from that and as the dad from 50 First Dates.
Yeah, I really like Boy Meets World a lot. That's one of my favorite of those family early 90s sitcoms.
I would confidently say Boy Meets World is my favorite of those.
I would as well.
Yeah.
Honestly, it's one of the only few of those that I ever have any interest in still watching.
Yeah, I think that, none of those hold up perfectly because they're 90s family-oriented sitcoms.
And it doesn't. It's by no means a crown jewel of television, but it's really funny in a way, in like meta in a way that most of those shows aren't sometimes.
Yeah, and I will be in love with Danielle Official until the day I die.
I mean, she looks the exact same.
Yep.
Were you a Girl Meets World fan?
Absolutely.
I've seen every episode of it, and I don't think I could call myself a fan. I feel like it was a pretty bad show.
That's fair.
But
it disappointed
it gave me a lot of nostalgia. Any of the episodes that had like extra Boy Meets World cast members were fun.
Yeah, when they brought Sean back, I got really, really excited.
Yeah, but they always did weird. They did weird plot lines on that show. Mm-hmm. Like the friend girl being like, "Sean, now you have to be my dad."
Yeah, that was a little weird, wasn't it?
We'll save that for our Boy Meets World podcast, Boy Meets Pod, and its sister series,
Girl Meets Pod.
Mm-hmm. Or Boy Meets Pod meets Girl Meets World.
Girl Meets Us? No.
That's never gonna happen. So he introduces himself to the class. His name's Coach Bogner. He's welcoming them to the art of pool.
Boss hogs.
And he gives everyone their shirt and shorts. Your traditional PE clothes. Do you have any fond memories of PE or the uniforms?
I still have
required for such.
The last time that I bought PE shorts, I still have those and I wear them to sleep in.
I was about to ask, are they sleep shorts? I
Yeah,
feel like that would be
absolutely.
good.
Cannot wear those out in the world.
I just fondly remember, days when I really didn't want to do PE. My clothes were in my locker, but like, oh man, my clothes, left them at home. Guess I'm walking laps upstairs today.
See,
Stuff like that.
I elected not to take PE my freshman year, and so what I got away with was taking second year gym twice, so I just got to swim.
Yeah, swimming was fun. I enjoyed swimming.
I hate
It was
pools
such
now,
a nice
but at the time I liked
break and relaxing during the day. And I'm sure that pool was in some ways cleaner than public pools. It's different kind of traffic.
We actually had a very nice pool at our high school.
Yeah, we did.
Because our swim team was one of the
it.
only teams that actually ever had people do well, secretly.
All right, so Jeff is just abhorrently looking at these shorts that he's supposed to wear for this class, and that is going to be the crux of the episode here. Is Jeff going to be able to put his ego down enough to do what he has to do for this class? I feel like it's pretty immature of him to be this surprised that he'd be asked to wear something
to
like
wear
this for
a
a PE class.
Yeah.
I suppose there's a chance that he could have taken this class, pool, assuming it would be the least PE class. But he doesn't say anything like that, so I don't think that's exactly what it was.
Yeah, also, I don't know if Jeff has ever watched professional billiards, but I've never seen them dressed like that.
But it's a PE class,
the hefty leather jacket.
Oh,
even.
yeah.
Now, I think he looks cool for, like, a smoky bar.
Yeah, I think maybe that's what he's going for. He's trying to be the cool drifter who comes and wins everyone's money in pool. I don't know.
Yes, in this community college class, I like that he really went with trying to give off that persona. He's like, what they'll
Leonard notices how insecure Jeff is about these shorts, and there's a classic "Shut Up, Leonard" exchange.
You're gonna look like an ass in those.
Shut up, Leonard. I talked to your son on Family Day. I know all about your gambling.
Touché.
This was probably the most we've gotten of Leonard so far, and I was very happy about
after
it.
Jeff says that, Leonard has this look that's like, oh shit, touche.
Fair enough.
I think Richard Erdman, they talk about him all the time, just like how game he was for whatever they asked him to do. And throughout the 6-season run, they asked him to do increasingly weird stuff. And he was like 80-something when the show started,
Yeah.
What a legend.
Yeah, truly, we love Leonard around these parts. There's a reason. Now, he's still our profile picture on Instagram, right?
I believe so.
As he should
He was our profile picture for most things before we kind of had a logo of sorts.
Yeah. He's our mascot.
Now we're in the cafeteria, and it's the brain trust to impact Abed's love life, sitting around a table. They're all trying to hang out and be casual and spy on this girl, Jenny Adams, that is supposedly interested in Abed. She's sitting a few tables away, reading Pride and Prejudice. Have you ever read Pride and Prejudice?
I'm trying to think if I've actually read the book all the way through. I know I
feel like I tried to.
Book. Yeah, I've seen.
I'd really like to see the Greta Gerwig film from last year, but I haven't yet.
I have not seen that yet either, and I love the movie adaptation with why am I forgetting everyone who's in that movie's name? Colin Firth, and who plays? What's her face? Sorry, I'm gonna look it up.
Now, if there was a Love Don't Cost a Thing version of Pride and Prejudice, who would star in that?
Well, you see...
Probably a Wayans brother.
Pride and Prejudice.
Either old generation or new generation.
Honestly, if we're being
what would
serious,
it be called? Here's where we go. What
Yeah.
would the title be? That's something we can come up with.
Okay. We're pretty good at alternate titles. Unfortunately, Pride and Prejudice Zombies is already taken. But
I feel like it could even be as simple as like Pride and Prejudice in the Hood.
I like that. How about
but maybe different words than Pride and Prejudice.
Yeah.
I feel like the word prejudice probably wouldn't be in the African American version of the film.
Ooh. Desire and Discrimination.
I'm sure there are books called that you'd find for $3 at your local Walmart.
Or find, like, on someone's mother's bookshelf.
So, as always in a situation like this, when the study group sees this girl that's potentially interested in Abed, they're all like, oh, she's actually pretty. And you don't know how many times I have literally had this happen to me, like with dating Lily. I've introduced her to people throughout our relationship. They're like, oh, she's really pretty. I'm like, why are you so surprised? I'm nice.
Like, damn.
I'm cool. What about me?
You know what I'm going to do next time that, I see you guys? I'm going to act like I don't know you. And I'm going to have Lily introduce you to me.
So you're her new boyfriend?
Yeah. And I'm going to be like, wow, he's nice.
Something. I'm sure she's had that too. But Shirley's instantly like, well, it's not a surprise, Abed, but they're all pretty surprised that this girl's so pretty.
Which, for me, here's my one issue with this whole line of thinking.
Danny Pudi is attractive.
He's a good-looking guy. He
Yeah.
has a very nice facial structure.
And Abed is often the coolest guy in the room.
I mean, he already had people giving him, bouquets of flowers to be in his movies.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think that it's out of the question that some girl want to be with the campus director.
Yeah, if anything, this is showing some of the study group's unintentional biases.
Yeah.
Which we all have. We're all
And
guilty of
lames.
it. Hey, we said no f***s, no cucks, no sucks.
Whoa, no cucks?
Well, we'll let you stick around, but
Whew.
that'll be it.
Thank you.
So they're all trying to hype up Abed to go talk to this girl, and he's just not interested, but he's willing to indulge his friends, I guess. Mm-hmm. And there's this whole thing where they're like, Abed, be yourself. He's like, okay, cool. And they all stare at him, expecting him to go be himself to the girl. And they're like, well, go be yourself over there. And he's like, why aren't you going over there? I thought you were being yourself. And he's like, yeah, I am being myself.
I
and
wouldn't
would
do
never
that.
do that.
That whole interaction was so funny.
Even funnier is, well, is there a version of yourself that would do that? And he's like, oh, yeah, definitely. And they're like, okay, be that version. And he just starts to walk over and then turns back around to the studio group and goes, and that's a strategy for sure.
One of my favorite, delivered lines in this is when they rush him back to the table and Britt is like, what the hell was that? Because it was such a genuine, what the hell?
He's like, it's a different version of me. I think it was a vampire. Pierce says a line that didn't totally come through to me what it was implying until they mentioned it on the commentary. He says, if this is going to turn ugly, I can't be here. I'm a two-striker.
Yeah, I thought that was pretty funny.
I took that at first as more like a, two strikes and I'm out of here. I'm not going to let myself strike out. But it was that he's had two Greendale sexual assault type things on his record, and he's not willing to be involved with another one, and so he just leaves.
I like when it, really driving the joke home as they're like, okay, Abed, give us a second, and they start kind of like, okay, clearly, himself is not going to work. And you see Abed just arms fully straight in the air start to walk towards the girl again.
It's a really great gif that I've seen before. There's some lines in here that don't go so well. They're like, well, we're all good people, but if Abed is himself, he's going to die alone.
Oof. Yeah, not very nice.
Which I think, I don't know.
And also I feel like Abed is not even close to the most likely in that group to end up alone. But,
Well, it can't be Pierce. He's been married 7 times.
Well.
There's going to be another one somewhere. Well, I guess he does end up dying alone, doesn't
Yeah.
he? When Abed's stretching out his arms, going back towards the girl, Troy literally lifts him up and takes him out of the situation. So after that scene, we are back in the weird as hell PE pool room, and Jeff shows himself in the shorts, but he's still wearing his boots and leather jacket. And might I say, what nice hairless legs Joel McHale has?
They were real bright, weren't they?
Do you think is it like a, I don't know, do you think he is hairless on his legs by choice? He's got to be, right?
Here are the two possibilities. Either he wears pants that are so tight that it rubs his leg hair off, right? Or he shaves them for acting.
I should have asked him this
personal.
when I got the
This
chance
really
to
should have
speak
been
with
the
him.
question that you asked when you got to interview him.
Yeah.
When we finally get around to having him on the show again, we'll ask him.
What is this line here? I just noticed a line that I didn't notice before. So he walks in the room. It's awkward for him. Someone says, and this is not a word that I like to say, someone in the background of the class says, "Oh my God, there's a midget on stilts." What are they talking about? Are they talking about Jeff? Like with his jacket and shorts that it makes it look like his torso is small or something?
I don't know. I don't think that's a very funny joke at all. I don't get it.
I don't get it either.
I mean, because, like, maybe if his legs were really short and then
Yeah, I don't know.
his torso were long.
Or maybe his legs are so long and white that they're the stilts.
I
I don't
guess.
know. It's not very good.
Yeah.
People are like whistling at Jeff. He's clearly very self-conscious and he's trying to play pool and it's throwing his game off. He gets in like an awkward lunge and he totally jumps the ball. I do that sometimes. That's something I've had to work on.
See, that's the one thing I can do in pool is bunny hop. It's a specialty of mine.
Good for
Right
you,
off
buddy.
the table.
So no one's taking Jeff seriously. And really, this is telling right away that he should have just worn what everyone else is wearing, and he
Yeah.
wouldn't have attracted this much negative attention towards himself.
Yeah, he's really made himself a target here.
He walks into the coach's office with his like sweatpants on now. You know, he's like, I can't do this with the shorts. And we get our first glimpse of that really great poster that Coach Bogner has of himself. It's like a pool table with him taking a shot. There's also like a close-up of his face looking off in the distance. There's like a total of 5 of him on this poster, just in like different perspectives. If you get a second, you should find a way to see this. It's pretty funny.
Let me see if I can
I
find
want
it.
this poster. Whether it's of you or of Coach Wagner, I'll take it.
Oh, there we go.
Coach Bogner immediately is like, "You're not in uniform. What's up?" And Jeff isn't willing to play along with everybody and is like, "We really have to wear shorts to play pool?" And there's this argument between the two of them that's starting of, I don't know, like the coach wants him to look past himself and is like, just do what you're supposed to do. And Jeff sees it as, well, is it really that important that we wear this weird costume to play pool, or is it just the way that you are? And it's an interesting, like I said, out of something that's so ridiculous.
Yeah.
It's an interesting conflict that has some like teeth to it a little bit.
This whole argument made me think of that meme that's like the two guys, and I don't remember what show it's from. It's either from some like Toe or like Repo show, and they're like in the office yelling at each other, and like one of them like has like dark glasses, and it's like, I will not wear these shorts, and it's like, wear the shorts, and it's like, I don't look cool, it's like, you aren't cool. Like that's what I imagined there going on.
There's a trivia question for you guys. If you can name whatever the Steven's talking about, 1,000 points,
It's
and
the
I'll stop
meme
censoring.
with the two guys that like there's a panel, they switch places every time. One of them throws a table, I think.
So, I have no idea what you're talking about, friend. The coach says to Jeff, "Do you have a problem with playing pool with a full range of motion and optimal comfort?" And I
He has
don't
a
know.
point.
Jeff is comfortable in his clothes, is what he says. He's got such an ego, and like he has to be portrayed the way that he wants people to see him, or else he just doesn't feel right. I don't know. This doesn't lose points for Jeff as a character in this episode, but he is pretty in the wrong here, or just making a big deal over nothing.
Yeah, I think that's what it is. He's making a really big deal out of nothing.
Yeah. Basically, the coach says, well, you look like the type of person who wants to be like sipping martinis, smoking, instead of keeping your game on the table. Like, they just have this pissing match. I'm not gonna read what they say back and forth, but the two of them play off really well.
Mm-hmm.
I think Coach Bogner is such a great guest addition to the show that I kind of wish we could have seen more a few times.
Does he not? Do they not bring him back at all ever?
I don't know well enough to say never, but I don't think there's ever something where he's in the foreground.
Yeah.
I know there's an episode in season 4 where like Shirley and Troy take a class where they learn how to become PE teachers. And that would have been a perfect opportunity to bring him back, but I don't think they did.
Wow. They missed the opportunity on that one because he's great.
Yeah. Jeff says, you know what, you're the one who's weird, not me. And he points to all the people in the class and says, who plays pool like that? People play pool looking like me. And he says, yeah, what do you call this? And he shows this like print of a cave drawing that he has of people playing pool naked, which is a great foreshadowing for how this episode's going to end.
It really is.
And Jeff's like, I call that your personal business, okay? And that's when he says your line that I missed where, I call this the desecration of America's coolest sport. And that totally kind of proves Coach Bogner's point when he says, yeah, coolest sport, exactly. You're so worried about being cool. And as Jeff storms out of the class, the coach calls him out in front of everybody and says this hipster is dropping this class because he cares more about what he looks like than how he's playing.
Which is true.
Which is true. This is such an interesting turn of events on like the teacher who wants to change a student's life.
He just wants him to play pool in shorts. That's literally it.
And this is when Jeff makes it personal as he storms out and says, I could kick your ass all over that table. Which the coach is like, oh, I'll take that challenge, and says, because if you play me in pool, you play me in shorts. And if you can't do that, his point's already made. Boom, drop the mic. And Jeff doesn't have anything. He's like, I don't have anything to prove to you. Or
Yeah. I mean, not that playing pool in those outfits isn't ridiculous, but still.
And everyone around the class is watching this happen, and I love the focus on Leonard in this episode being a part of the, like, what do you call it, the peanut gallery?
Yeah.
Who's just, I don't know, he's always like one of the cool kids.
He is, because wouldn't he be, though? If you were in a community college class and there was like an 80-year-old guy who did nothing but crack jokes, I'd love it.
That would be great, especially if it was Richard Erdman, and if he could blow a raspberry as mean as Leonard can.
Oh, I'd cry tears of joy.
It's funny, as Jeff leaves, the coach is like, Vanity, thy name is... Then he's like, oh, I don't know his name. It's the first day of class. I didn't catch it. And then
Which I like, because that's realistic.
I thought that was a pretty funny line. Now we cut to one of the extra rooms that the study group likes to plot people's demise or whatever in.
Or practice for the fight.
Or like vote on Buddy being in the study group or not.
Yeah.
They're teaching Abed how to win over women. Pierce says, you got 2 days or I'm going after her.
Oof.
And everyone's like, Pierce. And Pierce is, as always, noble in his reasoning.
What? I'm incentivizing him. Also, if she's into Abed, let's face it, anybody could hit that.
Oh.
Which is not true.
Not true, Pierce.
I don't think your chances are as good, but whatever gets you through your miserable life. Abed basically is just like regurgitating what everyone's giving to him and not really just saying what he thinks they want to say. And he's like, you guys want me to change myself so people will like me. And everyone's like, oh no, it's not about changing. It's about learning to change.
I do like Pierce's line where he says, all right, get the chickens off the runway.
He's like, I'll be the bad guy, which I think that's the first time and one of the only times Pierce acknowledges that he can be the bad guy.
Yeah, and often is.
And he gives a really bad line where he says, I can't think of anybody more scary than a half Polish, half Arab virgin in his 30s. One way or the other, that story ends with explosion.
Oof.
Troy stands up and he's like, let's step right over that. And he
Yeah.
makes them practice. He sets up a scenario. They're sitting on like this detached bleacher kind of thing. Troy has Annie sit next to Abed and they're going to practice like what Abed would do if he was making a move on a woman. I love the way that Troy like points at them as he's setting it up as like he's slipping into director mode a little bit. I thought it was kind of funny.
Yeah, I like that he tells Annie be a girl.
Annie be a girl. And Abed immediately just turns on this charm.
Yeah, it's a hell of a scene.
I'll play some of the audio here because I definitely can't do it myself.
No.
What are you reading?
Pride and Prejudice?
So you're familiar with two sins. How about a third?
Oh.
He puts his arm over Annie. Annie quickly goes from practicing the scene for Abed to being like, oh my God, she's feeling a little something. Abed pulls out a cigarette case that's full that apparently he's just had.
You never know.
In case he needs to be Don Draper sometime.
Yeah.
And of course, the meta joke here is that Alison Brie was a cast member on Mad Men.
Yeah, I haven't watched Mad Men, but it's definitely on my list of shows that I really want to watch.
I haven't seen it either, but I'm pretty sure Alison Brie was on the show at this point. Mm-hmm. So I think they were making a meta joke.
Yeah, she had to have been. And didn't she play not his secretary, because Christina Hendricks was his secretary?
She was like a recurring guest character. I don't really know exactly what her character was, but hey.
I know that was like one of her first roles other than Community that I knew of that kind of got her some, notoriety.
Yeah, I think that was one of her first like dramatic roles that showed that she could do the serious stuff. Abed puts like just the knuckle of his finger on Annie's chin, and I'm like getting some moves from this that I might
there's
to remember.
Some serious smoothness.
Leans in for a kiss, and it's about to happen until Shirley's like, Abed, what are you doing? Don Draper from Mad Men, what did you think? He says. Someone chimes in weird while Troy chimes in awesome.
Yeah, clearly it was effective.
Well, Pierce says, put your tongue in her ear. Just living vicariously through Abed.
Yep.
Annie says, I liked it. This is when we get the conversation about what type of character Abed should channel when winning over a woman, because he doesn't want to be Don Draper, because Shirley points out that Don Draper cheats on his wife. You got to be someone nice, like Mike Brady. Mike Brady being the gayest of all sitcom dads.
Yeah, there was a lot of nasty going on behind the scenes.
Oh, such a squeaky clean show.
Yeah. I know Florence Henderson's talked about it quite a bit on like different shows while being interviewed.
I've heard many things about the guy who played Mike Brady being very angry of a man and being very grumpy on set and being a very closeted homosexual, and that just being unpleasant to work with. But of course, Britta says, don't be Mike Brady. He's not sexy. You should be like Joe from Facts of Life. I have never seen the Facts of Life, but I have heard this character referenced enough to know that she's kind of like the tomboyish one.
Yeah, and I think she's lesbian. Cute. I mean, she grew up and was in stuff, and she's pretty.
This is the first... So, Pierce always is so sure that Britta is a lesbian. I think this is the first time that Britta has said something that adds to his theory in any way.
I think so, too.
What do you think?
Think she's...
What do you
do
think
I think Britta's a lesbian?
What do you think Britta's sexuality is? Do you think she's bisexual? Do you think she's... I don't know, because she used to have kind of like wild anarchic days.
I think that Britta has probably
had some experiences.
Yeah, I think that Britta has probably had some very like entry level experiences messing
That's
around.
That's a way to put it.
Yeah, I don't think that she's, based on her behavior throughout the rest of the show, I don't think Britta's actually, fully planned for whatever team you want to call it.
Troy clearly hasn't had any type of experience with anything. When he says, you should be Calvin, his best friend was a tiger. He went on dope adventures.
Listen,
and he says anything stood in his way, he just peed on it.
He just peed on it.
Calvin Coolidge? Someone who I know nothing about.
He was president, right?
Jeff walks into the room as they're debating these things, and he's both angry that they're doing this stuff to Abed still. He's angry about his pool shorts thing, and he says, what are you guys doing? And everyone stops in their tracks, but Abed's like, they're teaching me how to be someone else. And Jeff tries to give them a speech about it, and he's helping Abed out, but Abed just stands up and starts impersonating Jeff. And he stands up and is like, oh, for God's sakes, do whatever you want, guys. He does do a pretty good job. Leave each other alone. And everyone's
Leave each other alone was really good.
That's a good Jeff. How did you do that? And that's when we get this line that we've talked about a lot.
10% luck, 20% skill, 15% concentrated power or will, 5% pleasure, 20% pain, 100% reason to remember the name.
And 40% Zach Braff from Scrubs.
Exactly.
I know from Zach and Donald's podcast that neither of them have ever seen an episode of Community. They've said it several times. Very sad. Yeah. Zach Braff's voice and appearance is literally in an episode of Community. Never seen an episode.
That's hilarious. All right, Zach Braff, he's too big, I guess. He's
well, he is about to be in a movie with Robert De Niro.
Ooh,
it's like that? Him, Robert De Niro, and Morgan Freeman.
What?
And he's directed a film that Morgan Freeman starred in before. I don't know exactly what it is. It's like called The Comeback Kid or like Comeback Trail or something.
I have heard of that movie, have not seen it.
Well, it's not out yet, so.
Ah, that's why I have not seen it then.
So now that they know that Abed can do such a good Jeff, they're like, Abed, what if you just did Jeff for Jenny? And he continues to be Jeff. And he's like, and your point is? It's very funny.
Here's where I draw a little flaw in thinking. Or okay. I feel like there should have been a voice of reason. And maybe if Jeff had been more involved, he would have been this voice. But
Well, he's clearly not in a place to be in a voice of reason because
no, because he's
they're-
in a fight with a teacher about whether
as
they're-
he's trying to defend Abed, Troy's like, "Why aren't you in billiards class?" And he's like, "Cause I don't look cool in shorts." And he storms off. But what was your point? Keep going with it.
But like if she was really into Abed, Jeff is nothing like Abed. So why would she want an Abed that acted like Jeff?
Well, from all we know, all we can tell that this girl knows about Abed is his appearance.
That's fair.
But I would imagine Abed's pretty loudly himself, so I would imagine she'd at least have had to have, if she has such a big unrequited crush on him that she's drawing him on an entire page of a textbook that then she returns.
Yeah.
She's got to have a couple ideas about him, I would imagine.
Yeah.
And nobody does mention that. Nobody even thinks that maybe this girl has a crush on Abed because of Abed. It's a little sad the direction this goes in the end, even if it doesn't really matter to Abed.
Yeah.
And Jeff kicks a bunch of things as he leaves, and then Abed goes into it too. He's like, "Cause I don't look cool in shorts," and he starts fake kicking stuff around. And everyone's like, "That's really good." Now we cut to the cafeteria, and Abed walks up to Jenny, who seems like a really nice, pretty girl. She's reading her book, and Abed lays on some real charm here.
Yeah, he hits her with it. I mean, honestly, does as well, if not better, than Jeff does in a similar situation.
It's like, yeah, he comes up to her, comments on the book she's reading, says a funny joke about, spoiler warning, Pride ends up with prejudice. And she laughs, and they get along. Abed does lay it on a little thick, but I think it's just because he's doing what his friends want to see him do. He doesn't have any actual stake in this.
Yeah.
He sits down next to her and kind of puts his arm around her on the couch, which is a good move. The whole, I'm just stretching my arm out and putting it on the base of the couch.
Yep.
Or am I?
Or
Coming in
am
for the kill.
I?
I've used this move on Steven thousands of times.
And it's worked every time. I've been surprised and bamboozled.
The girl says, "I feel like I've seen you before," which, yeah, either from drawing him, that would make sense, or you would think that she would also, I'll rip the Band-Aid off. You think that she'd notice, "Oh, you look exactly like my boyfriend."
It's a real Russ Ross situation.
Oh, God, yeah, another friends conversation, huh?
Yep.
I like
For
how the
those
study-
unaware, there's an episode of Friends shortly after Ross and Rachel break up for the first time. It's either after they break up for the first time or after he finds out that she has feelings for him. Spoiler alert. For the mid to late 90s
Uninitiated.
show. Yeah. But she ends up dating a guy named Russ, also played by David Schwimmer, who looks exactly like him but with some slight hair differences. So it's a similar situation, but I digress.
Yeah. I like how the whole study group isn't even trying to cover up that they're staring at Ovid's situation. Anyone who turned around and saw this would be completely turned off by whatever's happening.
Mm-hmm.
Abed has a pretty slick line when he says, "I'm told I have a face made for sketching," trying to slyly give away he knows that she drew a picture of him.
Yeah.
But then goes on to say, "I'd rather think it was made for kissing," and leans in for a kiss. Now, if this girl was into him, I'm sure this would have gone hook, line, and sinker. But this dude walked up to a girl that he's never spoken to before, and 15 seconds later is trying to plant one on her.
Yeah, it doesn't work like that in the real world, Chief.
It seems like he's more channeling one Pierce Hawthorne rather than channeling Jeff Winger.
Right? 'Cause I don't even think Jeff would be, confident really enough to go in for a kiss like that.
And this is when we get a pan up to the big reveal of White Abed.
Everybody's favorite community character, Joey.
What is that? Yeah, Joey. He's holding 2 sodas, and Danny Pudi just nails his bro demeanor of
What are you doing hitting on my girlfriend? Ugly.
and he makes this pouty face that's really funny. Apparently, a couple of fun facts here. It took 3 hours to get Danny Pudi into this makeup and to make
Wow.
it work. And he had to do it several times. I don't know, the study group just reacting to this, it's so weird. It's so community that this is the
outcome.
This is the way that it plays out. It's very community. What do you think of White Abed? What are your thoughts?
I thought that it was a really funny kind of reveal because you're thinking, okay, either this girl likes Abed or like, something's up. But it tracks, right? It makes sense that she would just be drawing her boyfriend who happens to look just like Abed.
Wow, Netflix, you cut the Dungeons and Dragons episode, but you let this stay. It really shows where your priorities lie, streaming conglomerate.
I can look past racism, but animal cruelty?
You can excuse racism? Pierce's line is racist, but funny when he's like, oh, it's like Abed, but employable.
Yeah, correct. I feel like a lot of Pierce's lines can be categorized as racist but funny.
Something I don't like, White Abed engages a fight with Abed. All of the twin shots that they did where Abed and White Abed appear on screen at the same time look great.
Yeah.
Except this one that I'm seeing when White Abed is threatening to engage a fight with Abed, it does look like Abed with his back facing the camera is not actually Danny Pudi.
I didn't catch that.
What I don't like here is that White Abed calls him Slumdog.
Yeah,
Is
I really
that
didn't like that
the
one.
only thing that they can come up with for people to call Abed? Because it's happened like 3-4 times.
I
three different
guess,
episodes.
but we didn't really grow up with a large Southeast Asian population in our hometown, but they
What
do
does that
jump...
have to do with them not being able to come up with any better
Well, I'm just
things
saying,
to call him?
I'm saying, like, I don't know what nicknames you would call them, but I doubt Slumdog is at the top of everybody's list.
Yeah.
It's like
something
one
much
of the
worse.
writers really hung on to that and was like, oh, this is funny.
I think they probably tried to come up with like the least offensive thing they could call him, and they couldn't come up with many.
I guess.
Abed and White Abed are about to fight, but we don't get to see what happens because it cuts away, and now we're back in the study room. Jeff is walking in to the study room while the dean makes an announcement over the speaker that he's been informed by Coach Bogner that Jeff left his panties in the pool class, which is interesting that the dean is also getting in on this blood feud and more on the coach's side, is willing to call Jeff out in front of everybody.
Which is outrageous.
And
also,
it's not the first time either, because Jeff says, when is he going to stop doing that?
Yeah. They don't
say?
mention Slater in this episode, but I wonder what she's thinking hearing that over the loudspeaker.
Yeah. Not a mention of Slater this entire episode.
Nope.
Something else I meant to point out a little bit earlier, the line with Leonard when Jeff says, I met your son at Family Day or whatever. Next week's episode is Family Day.
So I wonder how much later this
out
one
of
was
order,
supposed to be.
potentially.
Yeah. That makes sense.
There's a funny line here where Jeff is saying to his group, do you know that the coach called me a hipster? Does a hipster walk around wearing $300 jeans from Italy?
Absolutely.
And on the commentary, they said they really clowned on Joel McHale because one of the times he did this scene, he said $3,000 jeans from Italy, which gave away to them that $3,000 jeans are something that aren't outside of Joel McHale's vocabulary.
I couldn't imagine. That's so much for jeans.
Annie brings up that she just wants them all to talk about Abed because she feels like his heart's broken because of what happened. He put himself out there because of them, and nothing happened. Jeff hates to say that I told you so, but he did tell them so. He shouts it through cupped hands, I told you so. He really did. He didn't get involved, but he's said many times, like, don't do this.
He did, and he told him the whole time. He said, Abed's fine.
And on the flip side, Abed isn't that heartbroken.
No, he is pretty unbothered.
This is when Pierce is like, Jeff's right. Abed was fine before we sullied him with thoughts of vaginas, was the only of those three that I picked up, of things that he mentioned, of the big three. Because it's the biggest of the big three. It's the reason we do most things on this earth.
I don't know about that because I am very romance-driven in all things I do. You heard it here, ladies.
Romance-driven, but what's the end result you're hoping for?
A nice candlelit dinner with a fan blowing my long hair behind me.
Yeah, and then you're going to shake hands and leave for the night? No.
In my experience, Zach, absolutely.
Okay, I'm sure you do every time because I'm not going to put out. You've tried so many times. But you know that the end goal, regardless of your heart whatever you pretend your heart is doing. We're dudes. We bang.
We're dudes, we bang. The official catchphrase of You Can't Disappoint a Podcast.
Yeah, you can take that any way you want.
Put that on a t-shirt.
Our friendship is definitely the type that Shirley would let us know the Bible does not condone.
Yeah. I think she'd see one mention of Palentine's Day and she'd shut that shit down on sight.
Yeah, well, and the corresponding Instagram post with pictures of us together.
Yep. It's too bad Instagram took down a couple of those. I thought they were racy but tasteful.
It was mostly the videos.
That's fair.
Britta's like, oh, Abed must be so heartbroken that he couldn't even come today. And Abed just walks in and is like, hi. He's totally fine. But Annie brings up about yesterday. And Abed's like, oh, yeah, you guys must be pretty upset. This is a great scene where Abed shows his cards and shows that he's the smartest person in this room.
At any given moment.
He knows how important it was for him to have a girlfriend. So when Jenny went off with White Abed, it must have really hurt them. And Troy's like, it really did. And Jeff wasn't there for it, so he's like, White Abed? Which imagine just walking into that, having no idea.
Like, huh?
And Shirley really plainly breaks up the ridiculous situation, so it makes sense for Jeff. Jeff says, so does that make Abed Brown Joey? And Shirley says, if you want to get racist about it.
Which I thought
How do
was
you
really
feel
funny.
about that? Do you think that...
For some reason, it does sound more racist, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. But should it?
Probably not.
I'm just asking. I have no real opinion on it because saying that someone is the White Abed isn't racist.
Well, I guess here's...
Saying in turn, if we're drawing these comparisons between the two people, if everyone agrees they look alike...
I feel like the people that I've known where there was a white something and a black something, I referred to them both as like, this one was,
But to another regard, it's not cool that they call Fat Neil.
It's not cool they call
So
Fat Neil
it's
Fat
probably
Neil.
not cool.
Yeah.
So I'm just gonna say it's not cool. Britta says to Abed, we just all want you to be happy, and Abed says,
Everybody wants me to be happy. Everybody wants to help me. But usually when they find out they can't, they get frustrated and stop talking to me. Or they trick me into buying them ice cream and then shove me into a clothes dryer, which I didn't want to happen with you guys, so I want to make sure that you felt like you could help me. The truth is, lots of girls like me because, let's face it, I'm pretty adorable.
Abed's so adorable.
Yeah, I'm just curious, like, who the people are that put him in the, the dryer, because, like, I just want to talk.
Yeah. Let's just have a conversation about where that came from
I just
and
wanna talk to
see where it goes.
Yeah.
Let's see where that talk goes. Abed says something about how women are attracted to him because he reminds them of their fathers. And he's used to them approaching him, which is why he didn't feel the need to approach a girl. He's chilling.
Fine. He has it under control.
So they were worried that they were bringing down his self-esteem. And Abed says, Britta, I got self-esteem falling out of my butt.
Which he really does. Abed has never shown a lack of confidence in himself.
And what I think is probably the line of the episode, he says,
Because when you really know who you are and what you like about yourself, changing for other people isn't such a big deal.
Go off.
yeah, there's not really a winger speech in this episode, and I don't know if he was channeling Jeff to say that, but there is the winger speech of the episode.
Yeah.
Even Jeff gives it to him and says, Abed, you're a god. Yeah, I think that really speaks volumes, and honestly, the first time I listened to that line and really listened to it, it's some advice that I feel like I could take.
Totally.
It's yeah. Not saying that it's ever necessarily right to change yourself to make others happy, but like there's something to be said about being so comfortable with yourself that you can adapt to help other people be comfortable.
Absolutely. And I think that's what the
shows
point
that
of
he's
it
a
is.
leader. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Is that when you know who you are inside, then you can, wear a lot of different hats, without necessarily changing what's underneath the hat.
What is underneath the hat?
Find out next week on Dragon Ball Z.
Oh my god. We're not doing a podcast on that one.
Yeah, no, there's too many episodes.
Jeff says, I think what Abed says cuts through to him, and he stands up and is like, okay, now I've got to do it. I've got to go beat this guy at pool. I've got to be myself, or I've got to be comfortable with myself and go kick this old man's ass.
We'll steal the crown and save the town from Mr. Krabs.
Oh my god.
I'm sorry. I'm just looking at my audio at how much bigger that was than everything else I've said. I'm sorry.
It's funny. Everyone's feeling really good about themselves because of the advice Abed gives, and Britta says, "You know what? Now I don't even care that people think it's weird that I say bagel," and everyone just can't take her seriously. It's like, "Bagel, you idiot."
I just love the sadness in her face that they pan to, because it's so good.
Poor Britta.
Poor Britta.
She does also a little bit like, she's like laughing and crying at the same time.
Yeah.
I don't know.
She's like, this is okay. This is fine.
We cut to the pool table. Bogner tells Leonard that he has a nice cross corner and says he'd like to see Jeff Winger try that shot.
I'd like to see Jeff Winger try a cross corner.
And there's a really great reveal when it pans over, and Joel's doing a really great lean against the side of the wall, like with his pool cue and his gym uniform.
It was a
And
pretty
I
solid pose.
Also like that even when even when Jeff is doing what he's supposed to do, he's still wearing the wrong shirt.
Yeah, it's... Well, you can't conform all the way.
Well, he should be at Urban Outfitters, is what Bogner says. And Jeff says, "I'll go there later if I feel like it. But first, I have to hand someone their tightly polyester swaddled ass in a game of pool."
Great line.
Leonard definitely calls out the burn that it is. He says, "Do you want to talk about clothes like a girl or use tapered sticks to hit balls around a cushioned table like a man? Balls like a man. Rack 'em. Slink.
Rack 'em.
Rack 'em, Woody."
Oh, thank you.
You're welcome. Let's see. What is there to say about this? They start playing pool.
It's a
and
great
Werewolves
montage.
of London starts playing. Warren Zevon is the artist we were asked earlier.
Wouldn't have gotten that.
I'm also trying to see if we can see anybody's... I should have looked at the shirts earlier to see what the tagline was on the shirt. I haven't seen it. They start playing pool, and they're both doing a good job. They're both hitting the balls in. They're both making some good trick shots. There's some really nice shots of them, like, kind of grooving while they're playing pool.
Yeah, I think that one thing Community consistently does well is montages.
Yeah, and there are a couple of cool pool montages in this one.
Yeah,
I think the song does a lot of the work, too.
totally.
Let's see. I'm just waiting for something to happen worth talking about. They're just playing pool.
You sound like the actual commentators during real life pool.
I'm just waiting
You're like,
for something to happen.
They're
just
hitting the balls. They're going
playing
in.
pool.
They're doing a little dancing. That's basically what it is.
The dean, like, okay, so Jeff starts doing this, like, really hip-heavy dance, and it's almost like the dean has his radar that Jeff is doing something sort of sexual, so he just slides into the situation. Jeff is doing pretty well, so he's getting cocky. He tells, what's his name? I said it
Bogner.
1,000
Boss
times.
Hogs. Wade Boggs.
Bogdan. F*** you, Bogdan. And your eyebrows.
And your
Right?
eyebrows. One of the best television lines. At
But
least
what's
one
the
of my
actual
favorite.
coach's name? Now I'm still stuck
Bogner.
on Bogdan. Bogner. Coach Bogner says,
Wade Boggs.
"You haven't learned anything except how to look cool playing pool in shorts," which wasn't that the whole problem.
Yep.
But Jeff says, "I'm just having a good time because I love playing pool," which is nice. Jeff learned a good lesson from his friend Abed. And this wasn't like a Jeff Abed friend episode, but it has shades of why I like stuff that focuses on their relationship so much.
Well, and I think it shows that Jeff actually probably does understand Abed a little better than the rest of the people in the group.
And vice versa.
Mm-hmm.
So the coach is like, "No way, you still just care about how cool you look." And to prove that he truly doesn't care how cool that he looks, he takes off the shorts and reveals a really weird underwear situation.
Yeah,
I
he's
wonder if
going-
that's a Jeff costume or if that's all Joel.
I don't know. There's some orange and blue stripy doos.
We get the dean does like a head turn. Jeff says, "Just to prove to you that I can beat you in a real game of pool no matter what I'm wearing." And the coach says, "Oh, you want to play real pool?" And so he also takes off his pants. And now the two pantsless men are looking at each other. But he ups Jeff and takes off his shirt, too. Just doesn't care how he looks. And Jeff obliges. He also takes off his shirt. And now there's two mostly naked men standing face to face, a teacher and student. What a great school. Chang points.
It's really quality stuff. I mean, this is what you want your teachers to do. Go above and beyond.
Chang points, and this is when he's like, shouldn't you be stopping this? And the dean's like, yeah, soon. It's just gathering evidence, and he starts taking pictures with his phone.
I laughed so hard at that.
They keep playing the game. There's nice shots of Chang taking bets, Jeff getting fancy with his pool cue and dancing around in his underwear. One of my favorite is he's like kind of humping the air as he walks across the screen, and then later on Coach Bogner does the same thing. It's pretty funny.
Yeah.
Everyone's really invested in this pool game. Not a lot to say. It's just a really fun sequence. This naked or soon-to-be naked pool game is just so community. The community that I love. This is totally one of those episodes that when I watched it for the first time, I was like, what the is this? And please give me so much more of it.
It's so funny because, where else is the whole school going to be, or at least, all the important people gathered around in this is like the lounge area next to the cafeteria that these two grown men who are both north of, 25, some more than others,
in front of like 50
naked
people.
In front of faculty, staff, food.
Joel McHale's talked about how filming this was pretty uncomfortable. And that's a man who has to take his shirt off on camera all the time.
Yeah.
And I bet it was pretty uncomfortable. The coach slows things down and says, you know what, one of us is about to lose this game.
That's really good.
Or win this game. Thanks. And they're all going to remember. And he wants to give them all something to remember. They're all going to remember that one of us loved clothes, that meaning Jeff, and the other loved the game. So to prove how much he loves the game, Coach Bogner rips off his underwear, which the way it rips off looks like it would really hurt. And
yeah.
Jeff does the same exact thing and rips up a kind of nice pair of underwear.
Yeah, I feel like especially ripping up nice underwear would not be easy. I don't know that I could comfortably just rip a pair of my underwear off of me like that. It would not feel good.
Gasps. Annie's like, And they keep
Annie,
playing
who
the
has now
game.
seen her second and third penis of all time.
Yeah, she's had an interesting school year.
Yeah.
It's the last shot. Bogner goes for the 8-ball and misses.
Ooh.
Everyone on Team Jeff is super excited. Everyone on Team Bogner takes the loss, and now it's time for the shot that decides it all. And I love the way that Jeff gets ready to hit the ball, doesn't quite have the angle he wants, so he lifts up his naked leg onto
pose.
the table.
Oh God!
Just opening his full asshole to anyone who would like to see it, which is
some did.
I'm seeing Annie is looking, Abed is looking. They talked about how, so this was something that Joel came up with, lifting his leg up like that.
That's great.
And I guess when Dan Harmon first saw him do it, when watching an edited cut of it, Dan Harmon leaned over to the other people in the room and was like, this is television history. And yes, it is.
Ooh. It's something.
Jeff goes to take the last shot and really lightly, delicately sinks it. Yeah, everyone just loses it, cheering. I love moments like this where it's, I don't know, just it feels like something big's happening. There's a victory,
Yeah.
Bogdan in his eyebrows, tries to get over the loss. And he's gained so much respect over Jeff. And something I want to touch on really quick that I think is a story being told underneath this ridiculous story is that Bogner is a sad community college PE teacher guy.
Yeah.
And sure, he's pissed at Jeff and this is a blood feud, but I think this is giving Bogner some reason to live,
I think so too, because how long
Jeff too.
How long do you think it's been since Bogner's had a student that actually put any effort into any of what he's taught?
Yes. And he says, you know what, I've got so much respect for you now that when you're in my class, you can wear whatever you want. And it's a really touching moment and a really funny moment, the way Jeff yells, I choose shorts. Shorts! Shorts! Wagner starts crying, you son of a bitch. You magnificent son of a bitch. You magnificent son of a bitch. Whatever.
That's really good.
Thanks, man. It hurts.
If anything happens to him, you could play Slinky.
Slinky
in-
Dog. I will
in
gladly
Toy Story
take that
8.
Disney paycheck.
Oh hell yeah.
Woody, we gotta get back to the nursing home. Andy needs us.
I'm trying to pick which Toy Story voice to do, but I keep thinking the one I could probably do best is Bo Peep, and so I'm gonna not.
Really? Okay.
Probably. Well, because there's a snake in my boot. That's not good. To infinity and beyond. That's
nah,
not
you
great.
got it all wrong. But what's your Bo Peep?
Now, Woody.
Okay, how come you were right?
I know myself.
Oh man.
Think about the
Bogner-
rest of the toys, Woody.
Bogner kisses Jeff right on the mouth. Joel said on the commentary, he's like, "This is like the 8th person I've kissed on this show." And he just kind of, I don't know, nobody really comments on it.
Nope.
All of the study group crowds around Nick and Jeff. They're like, "That was awesome. Good job, man." Britta's refusing to look at
Britta's
anything
face is
other
the
than like
best,
his
yeah.
eyes. She's trying to keep her head as far up as it'll go. And the dean comes up to go for one of his iconic touching Jeff's abs, now really getting in on the real thing. He's like, "Oh, okay, you're sweaty." And then he touches him again.
That was really funny as well.
And now we get this little ending scene that I think is so sweet. Jeff is draped around with a towel. They're all like talking about his victory. They're all celebrating. And this classmate comes up to Jeff. Hopefully we'll see what her name is. I don't think we've seen it yet. Comes up to Jeff and says, "Hey, I don't want to be too forward, but could you introduce me to your friend," meaning Abed, because girls notice Abed all the time. And Jeff, because he knows Abed really well, is like, "I know this dude, and if you're interested in him, which like you should be, I think you should just go talk to him." And she does. I think it's really sweet. She walks over to Abed, says hi. Courtney is her name. They introduce themselves to each other and shake hands. White Abed sits next to Jeff for some reason, as if they know each other, and is like, "Man, why couldn't I be Brown Joey when he has a beautiful girlfriend?" White Abed's problematic.
Yeah. Right? I feel like White Abed is a little, grass greener over there. He's got himself a lady, and he needs to let Abed do his thing.
Absolutely. And that's pretty much the end of a really solid episode. I don't think we said hardly a negative thing about anything in this episode other than like a line or
couple
two that
lines.
didn't land. But just about every joke lands. And
I could
definitely
see every
the
joke
tag lands.
Oh my
Go
God,
ahead.
the end
You
tag
could
is
see
great.
every joke what?
I could see every joke landing with me when it came out.
Oh, absolutely.
I probably would have laughed at every single joke in this episode.
And I did.
Yeah.
And it's a really good episode. It holds up super well. I love everything about this end tag, from the way Abed and Troy channel Bert and Ernie, from the costume, from Troy's Ernie laugh, from the way they move their arms
That's
as if
my
they're
favorite
being
part of
held
it.
up
It's
by
so
puppet
good.
rods, to
Them
the way they
sliding.
eat cookies, where they just push them into their face and let all the crumbs that don't make it fall. And I love more than anything the joke that ends this, when Troy looks at his watch and says,
My cousin's funeral's today.
Oh, that was today.
I knew there was some reason I couldn't do this today.
Poor Dimitri.
"Poor Dimitri." Can't believe it.
It's so good. This is one of my favorite end tags.
That's one of my favorite end tags too. There's nothing to say other than it's just great.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
So that's the end of the episode. I've got to say, I just love this episode the more I think about it.
Yeah.
I've talked loosely about giving episodes letter grades before. Maybe every now and then I'll jump in and give my opinion. And I feel like there's no A+ when grading stuff like this. A is the highest. And there's no reason that this episode isn't an A. The
No,
only
this is an
reason
A
it
for
might not be is because there's better to come.
Yeah.
So if anything, it's one of the top A-minuses.
I think so. I would even, honestly, I would give it a solid A. Because if I were doing in numbers, this episode for me would get at least an 8.59. So, I think it earns a solid, like you said, it's either the top or the A-minuses or the bottom of the A's. But
Yes.
great episode.
So, in such a great episode, who stands up above the rest? Who's your MVP this week?
So I had a really hard time, because I normally try and pick my MVP after the end of my second or third watch. I normally will know by then. I didn't know. I initially selected Abed, and I'm going to stick with that. But I think Jeff deserves it just as much. But for me, Abed was a little bit more, especially because he's the one who at the end inspired Jeff to just put on the damn shorts.
Yeah, I went into this ready to give my MVP to Jeff, but I'm not. I'm going to give mine to Abed as well, almost exclusively because of that line that I signaled out. I think it's one of the standout lines of the series so far.
Yeah.
And I think Abed is so true to himself and true to his friends in this one. I love the lesson that Jeff learns, and I love that this episode lets Jeff fall a little bit into the weirdness of Greendale and not be so concerned about himself anymore. I
Yeah.
think it does great work for the character and lets him be funny. So he's just a point or two below, but Abed's just on fire this episode, from like his Don Draper impression
Oh, so good.
to his vampire Abed when he's going to talk to the girl, to Abed as Bert from Sesame Street. There's just so much good from Abed counting 13 bagels. There's just so much good Abed stuff in this episode that I can't not give it to him.
Yeah, I think it's definitely hard to give an episode of a sitcom an A+, but this is definitely an A+ Abed episode.
Absolutely. And that wraps up our coverage for the week of physical education.
Yeah,
It was
this is a great episode.
Thank you to everyone who wrote into us, communities, peep reviews. Thank you to Anaraco7. Thank you to MJ. Thank you to Danny. Love that you guys are adding to the show. It means a ton to us, and I think it makes a huge difference.
Yeah, we're so happy that you guys are actually listening and interacting and seem to be enjoying, you know.
Seem to be.
Yeah, if nothing else, you like the show Community, and that's enough for you. So we'll take
Next
it.
week, we tackle an episode that's middling and kind of divisive in the fan base, Basic Genealogy. So I'm looking forward to getting into that. Email us your unanswered trivia questions and your thoughts to can'tdisappointpodcast@gmail.com. Where else can people hang out with us, Steven?
People can also find us on Instagram at Can't Disappoint Podcast, right? Is that correct?
Yes.
Nice.
You know it's right by now, I hope.
And then you can also find us on Twitter at You Can't Disapod. That's
Yes,
probably
and
where we
please
do
do.
our most interacting with the fans. So
Yeah, we love talking to people. And we've got a lot. We were just talking before recording this. There are some big things for our podcast coming up as we round out the end of season 1. And I can't wait for you guys to be a part of it and to listen to it. Steven, what are your final words for our listeners today?
I think today I just want to leave you all with, the seasons are changing, times are changing, but stay true to yourself. I think if there's anything that this episode kind of spreads, it's that, find some things about yourself that you are confident in, that you like, and really grasp onto those and appreciate yourself because whether
Good
you know
luck
it or
finding
not,
that for yourself, Steven.
I gave up a long time ago. But, regardless, there are people out there who love you and appreciate you, so don't forget it.
Well, I am Zach.
And I'm Gravy Jones.
And from inside the Dreamatorium, Black Lives Matter, all of our love to people dealing with the wildfires or people still struggling to stay afloat from the pandemic. And most of all, Werewolves of London. And we will see you next week. Thanks for tuning in.
Thanks, guys. Bye.
No more f***s.
No, none given, that's for sure.